Riftbound, Riot's new TCG or trading card game. If you're watching this, maybe you've heard of Riftbound and want to play. Maybe someone sent this to you because they want you to play with them. Maybe you like League and you just want to know how the game works but you don't know much about TCGs, then this video is for you. TCGs can be super complicated, and Riftbound being the first ones that I've learned, it's been hard to find the right information quickly to get into my first game. So I'm going to try my best to be the first step into learning Riftbound as your first card game as fast as possible for someone who might be as dumb as bricks like me. My credentials: I'm silver in League, I'm gold in Valorant, and I've lost the only Pokemon TCG game that I've played in my life. So let's get started. PSA, this video is being made well before the official release of the game, so everything might be subject to change. Let's get started. Two things before we start. I linked two PDFs in the description. These are Bible 1 and Bible 2. You don't need to read all of this because I'll try and go over everything important in this video, but it's the source of my information if you do want to follow along. Secondly, in the description, there'll be a glossary of common questions that are asked, kind of like a frequently asked questions. To answer these, there will be a timestamp to a point in this video. This is to send you to the point in the video that will hopefully answer whatever question it is. If you have any more, just send them in the comments. We're going to mainly learn with 1v1 in mind, but all translates easily to FFA and 2v2. This is what the board looks like. You have your main deck, your runes, your rune deck, your legend card, your champion card, and your base. Above your board is the battlefields, and above that is your opponent. Right now I have a board state that's going to help me explain everything that has to do with the game. So, it's a TCG. That means there's cards in this game. I'm going to split this up into 4 different types of cards: legend cards, battlefields, runes, and your main deck cards. We'll start with the easiest ones to understand. Battlefields. These are the cards that determine the special interaction on the battle spaces of the board. We can take a look at them here. This one, over here, and over here. These cards determine the special interactions on the battle spaces of the board, like give certain buffs, or some also give different win conditions, like this one over here, the Grand Plaza. These battlefields are where your units will go to conquer or hold. This is also how you will be getting your points to win. Battlefields get placed right here and right here, in between the two boards. These are your rune cards. They come in a couple different colors. With your board right now, you have green and purple. This is your mana in Riftbound. Your deck will have 2 different colored runes. Whether or not you're able to play a card from your hand is all determined by how much mana and runes you have. So if you hear me say rune, just think mana. Your rune deck goes over here, and your runes get channeled or placed here. This is your mana pool. Every deck has a total of 12 rune cards. You currently have 11 already channeled on your board and 1 left in your rune deck. To start your turn, let's begin by learning how to use a spell. So spells are very quick and easy. Spells are a part of your main deck, which is over here, and they get drawn to your hand. We have 1 spell in our hand right now. As you can see, there's an energy cost and a possible power cost on the top left. These 2 are the costs to play the card. Think of energy like mana cost. To use mana, you exhaust your rune cards you have in play. You may hear someone with higher IQ say something like tapping a card or to tap, or they're going to tap this card. That's the same thing as exhausting. It basically means to use. If something is tapped or exhausted, it cannot be used or moved. If a card is ready, it'll be right side up, like your runes over here. Sideways will mean that the card is exhausted, like this unit right here. Think of it being exhausted like an ability being on cooldown in League or Valorant. So, let's use the spell Rebuke as an example. At the top left, we see an energy cost of 2 and a power cost of 2 purple. Energy cost is simple to understand. We exhaust 2 runes. These can be of any color. Where the color matters though is with the power cost. We can see 2 purple rune icons under the energy cost. That means it has a power cost of 2 purple runes. Recycling means you must take those cards and put them to the bottom of their respective deck. In the case of recycling runes, it essentially makes your mana pool smaller. Some cards do and some cards don't have a power or recycle cost. Usually if it's a stronger card, it'll have a power cost. When a spell is played, it goes straight to the trash. So we can exhaust 2 runes and recycle them, going to the bottom of this deck, and now we're able to play Rebuke. The Rebuke card says we return a unit at a battlefield to its owner's hand. So if we look at the battlefield over here, we're going to send this guy back to the owner's hand. You just played your first spell. Next, we're going to take a look at the legend card. That is the card right here. This defines your deck's identity and its playstyle. Do you like spawning a lot of units? Do you like playing big, beefy, expensive units? Do you like moving your units around? These legends have an ability that warps how you will play the cards in different ways. Some buff your units, some allow your units to do different things. Let's take this Yasuo legend card for example. Yasuo's ability is at the bottom. You see a bunch of icons and some text. Let's break it down real quick. The circle with the 2 in the middle. That means 2 energy. This is the cost to pay. Energy is mana cost. This is just like the energy cost we learned with spells, but it's seen in the text of the card. The square with an arrow, that means exhaust this card, essentially putting this card on cooldown for the turn. Doing these 2 costs on the legend card will allow you to do whatever the ability says. So for the Yasuo's legend ability, you need to exhaust or tap 2 of your rune cards, and then also tap the Yasuo legend card to move a friendly unit to or from its base. Let's do that. So we're going to tap 2 runes, 1 purple, 1 green, and we tap our legend card, and we can move our Clockwork Keeper to the battlefield. We moved our unit to an empty battlefield, so that gains us a point. Let's go back to the Yasuo legend card. Look at the top left. They have 2 color icons. This determines what type of cards you can have in your deck. Kinda like typing in Pokemon, Charmander is fire, Squirtle is water. In this case, Yasuo is green and purple, meaning the only cards you can have in your main deck are green or purple cards. Back to the main deck cards. We already learned spells, and the only other types of main deck cards are gears and units. Gears are very similar to spells. They'll be played with their energy and power costs, but unlike spells, they're played into the base and they're already readied. Think of them as like adding a spell as an ability to your team. Once in your base, you can use the gear to do whatever it says on the card. One of the main ones you'll see are seals. This is a gear that will allow you to exhaust the seal to reduce a power cost of a card by 1. So let's play Seal of Focus. Seal of Focus is the green mana seal. It costs 0 energy and 1 recycle cost. And now we can play the seal to our base. Recycle 1 green card. And now we have the seal in our base. Because it's a gear, it gets played ready. Lastly, there are units. These can be called champion units depending on if the character is a champion in League. Just like all other main deck cards, look at the top left. We can see an energy or a possible power cost. Let's play the Clockwork Keeper. He costs 2 energy. So we can tap, and we can play Clockwork Keeper to our base. Because he's a unit, he gets played exhausted. Units are played exhausted unless stated otherwise on the card. Let's read the card. All cards have different text, sometimes things like when I attack, when I defend, when you play me, and in this case, as you play me. You can see the rune icon in the text. That means power cost. If it was the circled number like before, it's an energy cost. So for this one, it's 1 green rune power cost, and it'll allow me to draw a card. Let's do that. So we recycle this green rune, and we can draw a card to our hand. Think of units like chess pieces. They move around from different spaces on the board. Their strength is determined by their might on the top right. In this case, for the Clockwork Keeper, it has a might of 2. Might is their HP and their damage. So it can take 2 damage, and it can do 2 damage. There are only 3 spaces on the board in a 1v1 you have to worry about. Your base, and the 2 battlefields. In anything 3+ players, it's 3 battlefields. If a unit is ready, you can move them. Moving unit will exhaust it. Let's move our Wielder of Water to one of the battlefields. So we can take our card, exhaust it, and move it to that battlefield. It's empty, so we get another point. Moving to an empty battlefield is also conquering a battlefield. You can move a unit from base to battlefield, or battlefield back to your base, as long as they're ready. The only way you can move a unit from battlefield to battlefield is if they have the keyword ganking in their card. An example of a card with ganking is Kayn right here. The only other kind of unit is champion units. They're exactly like a normal unit. The only thing special about champion units is that you start the game with one of them beside your legend card, placed to the right. This champion unit has to have the same name as your legend card. So we have a Yasuo champion unit right here. Consider this spot as an extension of your hand, and you can play the champion unit just as if you drew them from the deck whenever it's your turn. Now, let's play Lee Sin from our hand. 5 energy and 1 green power. But we can use our gear we played earlier, the seal, to reduce the power cost to 0. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhaust the Seal of Focus for the power cost, and we can play Lee Sin to our base. And just like that, you know how to play a card game. There's nothing else you can really do right now, so you just finish your turn. You just witnessed your first Riftbound turn. Your opponent will now do theirs. They start their turn with a spell, Call of the Week. 2 energy, 1 gold, and on the card it says that each player kills one of their units. So they send one of theirs to the trash, and you have to choose one of yours. Let's send this Clockwork Keeper back to the trash. First, they move one of their recruits into this other battlefield, gaining them a point. Next, they move this unit to the battlefield you already occupy. What happens now? A showdown instantly begins when a unit moves to an enemy-occupied battlefield. First, we read the cards to see if they have any when I attack or when I defend text. This one doesn't, but ours does. If we attack or defend alone, we gain 2+ might, so now our unit has 4 might. At this point, either player can use spells if they have the mana for it. Once all spells and ability BS is done, combat begins. The combat damage happens all at once, so our unit does 4 damage because of the 4 might, and his unit does 6 damage. Your unit dies because it only has 4 might, so we send it to the trash. Your opponent has now conquered that battlefield to gain another point. You're both playing to 8 points, but the 8th point can only be won in a certain way, by either scoring on all the battlefields in a single turn, or getting a hold point. You get a hold point if you have a unit you control on a battlefield when your turn begins. 2 more things about points. You can only score a battlefield once per turn. You can't spam move one of your units back and forth to get multiple points from the same battlefield. Secondly, if you're at 7 points and you conquered a battlefield but it doesn't count for the win, you draw a card instead. If you killed each other's unit, no one gets a point. If somehow units on both sides survive the combat damage, looking at you, Kane, defending units stay and the attackers go back to base. Your opponent is now at 7 points and they end their turn. On the beginning of your turn, you ready all of your cards that are exhausted and turn them back to right side up. Then, you draw 1 card from your main deck, and you channel 2 runes from the top of your rune deck. Let's try and take back the battlefield that we had before. When moving units, you can move multiple at once as long as they're coming to and from the same place. Let's move both our Lee Sin and our Clockwork Keeper back to the battlefield to try and get it back. We put them here, and they're now exhausted. This is an enemy-occupied battlefield, so this starts a showdown. Now you might be asking, how does damage work with multiple units at a time? Good question. Each side sums up all their might. So they have 1 unit, which is 6 might on their side, and we have 2. 5 might and 2 might, that equals 7. 7 is bigger than 6, so we win that fight. We do 7 damage to their unit and it dies. Then they choose how they want to allocate their 6 damage to. Let's say they're dumb, and they want to do 4 damage to Lee Sin and 1 to Clockwork. They could, but it would be stupid, since after every single combat, all damage is healed from the units that are still alive. So if he did that, none of our units would die. He's smart, so he does 5 damage to the Lee Sin, killing him, and 1 damage to the other unit, and it doesn't kill them. That leaves our 1 unit still alive, which conquered the battlefield, earning ourselves another point. Now let's say you wanted to protect your unit to keep it alive. You use your Yasuo ability to move them back to your base. So, exhaust 2 runes, Yasuo, move them back to base. Any ability or spell that moves a unit, it can do so even if that unit is exhausted. Then we play Yasuo from our champion unit spot for 6 energy, use the Seal of Focused, and recycle 1 green rune. And now we end our turn. It's now your opponent's turn. He has a unit on this battlefield over here. This is going to earn him a point because it's a hold. You can gain your last point with a hold, so your opponent wins after getting their 8th point. You lost. That's okay. It'll happen when learning a card game. Winning isn't the only fun part that happens with card games. It's the strategies and planning during the games, the deck building. That's what's really fun and exciting. Next, I'm going to talk about some things on the text of the cards that can come up when playing the game. Circle with the number inside, that's energy cost. Square with the arrow, that means to exhaust this card. A rune icon, that's power cost of that colored rune. Rainbow rune, that's the power cost, but it can be any color. If you see a number with the sword and the shield, that has to do with might. It can be increased or decreased, depending on what the card says. Channel, that means you take a rune from your rune deck and put them on your rune board. Next, I'm going to talk about keywords on cards. Accelerate, this means you can pay a cost when you play the card so that it'll already be ready instead of being exhausted. Legion, this means you get a special effect if it's the second or more card that you've played from your hand this turn. Assault, that means this unit will have more might when attacking. And Shield, that means the unit will have more might when defending. Tank, this means during a combat they take damage first. This is similar to Taunt if you've ever played Hearthstone. So, if you have multiple units in combat but one of them has tank, your opponent has to allocate damage to that card first and kill it before putting damage onto other cards. Hidden. Hidden is a certain type of card you can play from your hand, face down at a battlefield you control, by only paying a power cost. You can only have 1 hidden card on a battlefield at a time. You don't have to pay the normal card's energy or power cost at the top left, just the power cost to hide it on a battlefield. Once a card is hidden at a battlefield, you can flip the card as a reaction for no cost. You can play these normally without being hidden. Death Knell. If a unit has Death Knell, something will happen when this card dies, similar to Death Rattle from Hearthstone. Deflect. For your unit to use a spell on this unit or card, they have to pay a power cost first. In Genki we went over earlier, that means you can move a unit from battlefield to battlefield. Temporary. This means before your turn starts, you kill any temporary units that are on the board still that you own. Stunned. If a unit is stunned during combat, it can't do damage. Buff. Certain cards can buff other cards. They can also buff themselves sometimes. Sometimes they gain buffs depending on something happening during the game. A buff means they get +1 might. Most cards can only get buffed once. Cards like Lee Sin, they can be buffed as many times as they want. Some cards can spend that buff to get a different effect. Lastly, spell speed. I don't really know much about spells since this is like my first card game really, but I'll try my best to explain it the best I can. Some can say action and some can say reaction. This is to show the speed of the spell. Actions can be played during your turn or during a showdown that you're participating in. Reactions can be played at any time, or during the showdown that you're in, just like actions. But what makes them different is they happen before anything that's happening at that time. They kind of like go to the top of the stack. So you can play this when your opponent plays a spell, and most of the time it's to counter or prevent it from happening. You pretty much know everything, so how does the game start? In the deck that you come up with, there's going to be 3 battlefields. You each choose one of the battlefields and you put them on the battlefield spots. Then you flip a coin or roll a dice to determine who goes first. Then both players draw 4 cards. Before the game starts, you can recycle up to 2 cards and draw that many if you want a better starting hand. The person who's going first, they can start their turn by drawing 1 and channeling 2 runes. The player who goes last, they channel an extra rune on their first turn, but as the game goes on, they do the normal draw 1, channel 2. That's pretty much all you really need to know. You learn pretty much everything you need to do to start your first game. First, try the trial decks, any decks that people have made. Where can you find them? PiltoverArchive is one of the best resources for looking at decks and cards and making them, so go check it out. Now you found a deck you want to play on PiltoverArchive, and now you're asking, where do I play the game? It's not even out yet. The cards don't even exist. PiltoverArchive, they allows you to print out the cards to make proxies is what they call it. If you want to play with your buddy, find decks, print them out, meet up together, and play some Riftbound. If you want to play with others, not your friends, maybe you want to look for someone who wants to play with you, join the Riftbound community Discord. You can find people to play over video calls. The way I play is over Tabletop Simulator. There's a creator, Willow, on Tabletop Simulator, made an amazing workshop mod to play Riftbound on TTS. It makes it super easy, lots of scripting, and it's really well made. I can make a tutorial on how to use PiltoverArchive or the Riftbound TTS mod if people want that as well. So now you guys have figured it out, you're playing, you have questions about certain interactions. In the Riftbound community Discord, they have channels where you can ask anything. You can also look up questions that other people have asked, and Sneaky Buffalo probably answer them. I hope this video was super helpful. I hope you guys like playing Riftbound because the game's not even out yet and I've had a lot of fun playing. So I'll probably post some gameplay videos, me and my friends playing Riftbound, and hope you like those as well. Thanks for watching. Hope it was helpful.